check.
Hey, this is David Yang, Soundcheck.
And
now I'm actually not muted. Earlier I was muted. Yeah. Okay.
I am unmuted now as well, and it works well. And can you hear me better now? Good.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another demo day at Fullstack Academy. My name is David Yang, and I'm here with Nimit Maru and Kate Humphrey. And today we got a jam-packed day. I want to just, I don't know if Mark, you can cut to the place, but it's standing room only for watching these presentations. I want to take everyone through the schedule briefly, so let me load that up here. So we will have 6 Grace Hopper teams, followed by 4 teams in Chicago, 10 teams in New York, and follow that, we'll have a Developer's Choice Award. So every demo day, we have 2 prizes for teams here. We have Developer's Choice Award that comes with lifetime bragging rights and a $50 Amazon gift card for each team member. So
Which is, of course, priceless.
Priceless, yes. You can't put a monetary amount on a $50 gift card. Facebook Live Award, same thing, lifetime bragging rights and a $50 Amazon gift card. And eternalized in our Facebook video with the award that they won from Demo Day. So we have a pretty cool voting system. If you would like to vote for a team, like the post that this video is being played on, and also like the pinned comment from the time they're presenting. So we have a operations team here that will be pinning a comment for each team, and we'll also try to remind you as often as possible so that you can like that comment to vote for that specific team. So that comment will be pinned while they're presenting. So you can only vote while the team is on stage. So if someone's asked you to come vote for them and you come in too late, too bad. It'll be hard for us to tally that vote. We're going to tally that vote right after they finish presentation. So we'll tally up votes at the end of the broadcast and announce the winner. So you'll find out right at the end of this live video. We are also watching stuff on social media. So if you want to post a comment, we may put it on air. If you want to hit us up on social media, you can tweet us at Fullstack and then our hashtag FSDemoDay, and we'll be watching both of those. All right. Without further ado, let's kick things off. Kate, why don't you introduce us to the program and to the teams here?
Okay, we are going to start today with Grace Hopper. And if you know about Fullstack, then you know about Grace Hopper. It's the same technical education. However, it is a program only for women, and we do that as we try to increase gender diversity in technology around the world and mostly in this nation. And we're doing that through accessible tech education, and Grace Hopper has a deferred tuition model to aid in that. What we are going to start with today is one of the hottest kind of tech words and kind of the hottest thing in the economy right now, blockchain. And you're like, what is it? I don't think I fully understand it. What are the use cases? How can I use blockchain? And I'm going to introduce Block and Mortar, and they're going to tell you more about how you can use blockchain and what it is. So take it away.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. My name is Anjali Merchant, and I'm here with my colleagues Annabelle Lau, Claudia Bake, and Kate Haney. Today, we're going to be talking to you about Block and Mortar, an app that allows for the grassroots exchange of goods and services using blockchain technology. Unlike Craigslist or TaskRabbit, Block and Mortar allows users to buy and sell goods and services using blockchain technology. You may be familiar with blockchain because of Bitcoin or John Oliver, but blockchain technology a blockchain is a decentralized, digitized public ledger that allows you to track transactions. We wanted to build this app so that we could lower the barrier to entry to blockchain technology. Our app provides a safe and secure environment for buyers and sellers to make transactions. I'm now going to pass it off to Annabelle, who will walk you through our app.
Thanks, Anjali. So let's say you're a user named Irene and you want to sell your record player. You would first make sure you're logged into MetaMask, a plugin that functions as your digital wallet, followed by Block and Mortar. From here, you can make a post for your record player and fill out a few details about your item. The price is in Ether, but in case you need it, there's a link to a currency converter right there. And then once you hit submit, you create a transaction on the blockchain. Then we're taken to the marketplace and you can view the new post that you just created and also browse some other goods and services for sale. I also need a new mattress, so I'm going to click on the item to learn more, and I can also view the seller's transaction history to see whether or not they're reliable. All looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and place an order for this mattress. Once again, we are taken to MetaMask to confirm the transaction. I can also then message the seller to see where to meet up. Assuming the meetup goes well, I can complete the transaction and the money will be transferred. Then both the seller and I are able to see our blockchain ID. Next, I'll pass it off to Claudia, who will talk about some of the technologies we used.
Thanks, Annabelle. While this transaction seems simple, our biggest challenge was figuring out the data flow of this app. We first had to consider where our data will live. We could have stored everything on the blockchain, but that would have been a costly process. Every interaction with the blockchain, it costs small number Ether. And it also takes time to fetch data, and we wanted a seamless user experience. For these reasons, we decided to store only the transaction data to our blockchain and rest in our Postgres database. And then we had to figure out how our front-end state would interface with the blockchain and backend using React and Redux. Whenever a user uses our app, we could have sent simultaneous requests to the blockchain and to the backend. Instead, we use promises to ensure that our database would only be updated after we get successful response from the blockchain. Now, here's Kate to talk about more on the blockchain technology.
Thanks, Claudia. We had to familiarize ourselves with 5 new technologies in order to write to and interact with the blockchain. We used the Solidity language to write our smart contract, which allowed us to codify the way we were interacting with the blockchain and the information we were storing there. We used Truffle and Ganache as our Ethereum development environment to test our smart contract. Then we used MetaMask to allow our users to log into our app and access our app using their personalized Ethereum digital wallet. Finally, we used Web3 to connect our app to our blockchain and communicate with our smart contract there. So that's our stack. And this project just gave us a really good opportunity to familiarize ourselves more with blockchain technology. We had a great time working as a team together and learned a ton from each other's different strengths. And we're really excited to bring blockchain technology to local communities. So please feel free to visit us today at blockandmortar.nyc or check out our code on GitHub. Thanks so much for listening.
Yeah, that was really great. I'd love to see that we're having more and more projects these days experimenting with blockchain. I think some of them are running into like the natural constraints of working on the blockchain as well. Like as you know, as this group said that they had to have their own local Postgres database as well, because you know there would be too many limitations to storing all the data on the actual blockchain. And so I think anyway, yeah, I think they did very well.
I think move over eBay. We're going to have more secure, decentralized buying and selling of goods. I think that's great.
Yeah. And I love like the puns, new kids on the blockchain. That's great. And just a quick reminder, if you would like to vote for Block and Mortar, like this post and like that pinned comment, and we'll tell you how to vote.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. I think the use of Solidity being close to JavaScript is a great way for people to be able to practice with it and
get into blockchain. Yeah.
We'll need to see more applications like this as crypto becomes more mainstream.
Yeah, not even crypto. Finding the other use cases for it, I think, is what is really impressive about that. Next up, if you ever run into the situation where you are at a restaurant and you're like, what is tagliatelle? Tell me exactly what is pho? What is it that I'm ordering? I don't know. Well, instead of looking ignorant, having to ask your waiter or waitress all the time, download augMenu and these can all be solved for you. Tell us how.
Oh, we are the augMenu team. My name is Michaela Adams, and these are my colleagues, Lindsay Maher, Madhuwanti Jadot, and Dara Naik. Together, we created a mobile app that allows users to preview food from a menu before purchasing. In addition, a user can browse other items that are even not in English or even written in non-Latin alphabets. augMenu does this by taking a picture of the item, text, sending it to an image-to-text recognition at Google, and then we get back the string of text. Once we get the text and we pull up the model, the user is able to rotate the model, view it from all angles, and even tap on the model for nutritional information. Now Madhu is going to walk us through a typical user experience.
Thanks, Michaela. So as you can see, when you click on the instructions button, it will provide you with the guidelines. Clicking on the scan menu will take you to the camera screen. When you focus on the menu item and capture its image, it will render a 3D model of the food item you have selected on your camera screen. When you tap on the model, it will show up its ingredients. You can also rotate the 3D model to see how the food would exactly look like from all the different angles. If you scan any irrelevant text, it will just recognize and simply let you know that it's an invalid scan and please scan again. So these are the main features of augMenu. Now I would like to hand over to Dhara, who will walk us through the technologies we used and some challenges we faced to make our app come to life. Thank you.
Thanks, Madhu. For building this application, choosing a right AR platform was very important. After some extensive research, Viro was our choice of interest due to its modularity and its seamless integration with React. This was our first experience working on AR platform, and so our development journey was full of technical challenges and learnings. One of that is camera component only works with React Native, and our first primary challenge was to integrate React Native with Viro and not using Xcode or Android. After some research and taking help from Viro support team, we were able to achieve this using screen capture functionality of Viro and move forward. Our application also renders 3D food model, and we created our own 3D food models. It was quite an experience to learn to how to create those 3D food models, give them some texture, material, some light, and give some different positions and rotations so they can look like a real. Another key feature of our application is image to text recognition. And now I would like to invite Lindsay to talk more on this.
Thanks, Dara. I'd love to. So in order to read our menu and render our models, we decided to use the Google Cloud Vision API as well as AWS S3 cloud storage. This diagram is going to walk us through what needs to happen in order for us to play with our food. So first, we use a feature of Viro React to take a screenshot of our menu. That image gets sent to AWS and stored with an image URL that we now have access to. That image gets sent to the Google Cloud Vision API, and that returns to us a readable version of the menu text. We now go back to AWS and search for the food model that we need to render using that menu text. At this point, we should have gotten through all the steps that we need to for our user to be able to view the food on their screen. Because our application can dynamically render the food models using the URL, we decided to eliminate our initial call to the backend and actually get rid of the need to store anything locally on our machine. As you can see, our team had a really great time working on this together and learning several complicated technologies. If you'd like to learn more and see more of our code, please check out our GitHub. Thank you so much for watching.
That was great. I think the biggest downside is it's a little too mouth-watering. It makes me hungry every time I'm testing it.
Yeah, so quick reminder, if you like to vote for augMenu, like the post, like the pin comment. I just saw the Ready Player One movie, and the quote was, the best thing about, the only thing about reality is that the best thing about reality is that it's where you go to get a good meal. And that kind of is like the like get a great meal and augmented reality there. That's incredible that it was, because I had that problem. I have both that problem. I have that problem of where I'm going looking at a menu. I'm like, none of this stuff is resonating with me. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I would, this behavior, it's kind of cool though. I'm like, then I just look at it and see it. That's really cool. And but they were able to get there to the rendering. I think it's incredible.
It was impressive how many new and like just, you know, under development technologies had to come together to actually make it work. So I was really happy to see it like in action.
It's surprising how difficult things can be when you're developing on mobile. Securities with like iOS. Yeah, definitely. Well, next up, I'm going to tell you about how I love to travel. I got friends all over the world, and one of our favorite things is to play games together. Unfortunately, when you're so far apart from each other, it can be very difficult to play games together. And one of my favorite is Mafia. And luckily for me, I've got a team that made a game that handled all of the difficult technical challenges of streaming video and game logic, and they've made it so that I can play these games as if my friends are near me. So Mafia, tell us how you did it.
Hi, my name is Danny Duval. I'm here with Brittany Chu and Gabby Jose Buckbilly. So how many of you are familiar with the game Mafia? Okay, great, fantastic. Well, we were big fans of the game ourselves, and we thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could play all together with our friends who live all over the world? So we decided to create a multiplayer online version. So Mafia is a hidden identity game of whodunit, and if you are unfamiliar with the rules, you can find them here on our homepage. So as a player, you can create a room, select the number of players, and assign a password if you want to make your game private. Your friends can then join you, and as they arrive in the room, you'll see a labeled video of them appear. We use the OpenTop platform for our video integration, which is built on top of WebRTC. And using their server SDK, we were able to create unique video sessions for each game room and generate tokens for each client to subscribe them to the relevant session. So once everyone's arrived, the creator of the room can begin the game. The computer then assigns roles at random, and the hoot of an owl indicates the transition into nighttime, where the doctor, mafia, and detective are prompted to make their first selection. We controlled on our client-side video visibility, so if you're a villager, in the nighttime your incoming videos are disabled and you only see yourself, whereas Mafia can see and hear everyone, so can discuss their plans in secret. I'll now hand you over to Brittany.
Thanks, Danny. In the final seconds of the round, it is revealed to the detective whether or not their guess of the Mafia was right or wrong. A rooster crow then signals daytime, where players find out who the Mafia killed in the night or if the doctor managed to save. Players are then left to throw around their accusations and discuss before votes are taken on who they think is the Mafia, and the results are revealed. For our stack, we used Node, Express, SQLize, PostgreSQL for the backend, React, Redux, OpenTalk for the front end, and Socket.io to communicate between the two. Because of the nature of the game Mafia, we couldn't keep all of our information on our front end, so we decided to keep all that game logic and classified data on the back end. With Socket.io, we were able to use each player's unique socket ID to assign his or her role through the socket. And, through the socket. And we were also able to have client sockets emit specific socket events based on their assigned role, and only have specific sockets receive a response emission back from the server. We were also able to broadcast to the game simultaneously if a player was dead or alive, or if the game had ended. And now here's Gabby to talk more about our technical challenges.
Thanks, Brittany. Our biggest technical challenge during this project was translating all of this game logic into code. So behind me is a simplified flowchart that shows the flow of just one round of Mafia, from the start of day to the end of night, and all the calculations done in that time. So let's just check, let's see one moment where we see if the game's over or not. The big problem here is that we had to wait for multiple asynchronous actions to complete before we could compute anything. So through the use of promise chains, async await, and hooks on our database models, we configured our flow of data so that we always had the information we needed from the previous calculation before moving on to the next. And if the game was over, we had methods on our models that could check who had won. So let's say the villagers found out who all the Mafia were. The villagers claim victory. But if the Mafia killed all of the villagers before that ever happened, then the Mafia take home the gold. Thinking through this game logic was almost as much fun as a game of Mafia itself. And lucky for the three of us, we love playing. If you want to play with your friends, head on over to mafiaacrosstheworld.com. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you've enjoyed the presentation.
All right, that was that was impressive. It was impressive, and given that I really do like the Mafia game, and I feel like it's the original, and so I'm glad that they built it. I was also happy to see them using the OpenTalk API, which I think does it makes this game a lot richer, and actually instead of having a chat box or something, it really makes it a lot of fun to see everyone, and yeah, I really think it was very realistic.
I like the sign-on UI too. I think so many times people get there's too much stuff to do to get started. Here, just like you're in the game. That's really cool. Very nicely done.
That's right. I really do love this project. I love games generally. I think they really deal with the twin devils of making an application, which is dealing with synchronicity and having a lot of states that you have to manage. And Mafia was, when they came up with the idea, I thought, well, that can't be that hard, can it? And then when we saw all the data that had to be handled, all the logic, all the states that you couldn't keep on your front end, they really did a great job of really kind of applying.
Well, and the diagram that they showed was really cool. It's like, because the state machine that it has to go through.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it was cool that they enumerated it out instead of just coding it first.
Yeah.
And to vote for Mafia, like the post, like the comment.
Great. And up next, we have another game of a sort. So games really are not trivial endeavors to build. So we have a great project coming up next. I had a lot of fun watching this team develop their creative features for this code execution platform, essentially. And much like Mafia, they overcame a lot of the real-time synchronization issues, and then they wrapped up this whole thing in a really entertaining and appealing wrapper. So I would love for the engineers at Codémon to tell you all about it.
Hi everyone, my name is Daimis Vargas, and today I have the pleasure of introducing you all to Johanna Fulgham, Veronica Smith, and Heather Kopinski. And together we are Codémon. When brainstorming ideas, we knew that we wanted to gamify productivity in some way. And if you've ever ventured to master the world of programming, then I'm sure you're familiar with Codewars. Codewars uses a queue system, so new users start at level or Q8 and progress downwards the more they code. With Codémon, we had the vision of incentivizing our users to solve challenging coding problems by leveling up or training their Pokemon. As a new Codémon trainer, you'll be gifted a random Pokemon. And you will also have the options to battle any other users that may be online. And for this functionality, as soon as a user logs in, we post a unique socket ID to our database. This will be explained more in thorough detail later, but for now, Johanna will explain our implementation of our text code editor.
Thank you, Daimis. We integrated React Ace Editor into our layout so that the user can type in their solution after they choose a Pokemon to train. After the code is executed against our test suite, the results are fed back to the database where they inform how our Pokemon collect experience. If our Pokemon collects enough experience, we use Redux to dispatch an action to trigger the Pokemon's evolution. When we were designing this application, we knew that we needed to protect against potential malicious user attacks or untrusted code. So that's why all of the user's code is run inside the npm module Sandbox. Sandbox protects live servers and their data from untrusted code and provides support for timeouts and memory errors. Now Veronica will talk about the implementation of wild Pokemon attacks.
Thank you, Johanna. We created the front end of our application using React, and we use Redux to maintain a predictable state. For the wild Pokemon attacks, we utilized a library called React Responsive Modal and constructed custom Redux middleware that would execute for each action that was dispatched. But the modal would only open for certain actions while simultaneously passing along the initial action that was dispatched. For instance, if the user is in the middle of a battle or attempting to battle someone, they can't be attacked. But if they're just clicking around on their page, they have a 5% chance of being attacked. This would trigger the modal to render on top of the current page, and they would then have the option to run away, which will close the modal, or solve the problem and capture another Pokemon to train. If they opted to solve the problem, they could then head over to their stats page where they could actually see that the Pokemon has been added to the database as one of their own and now renders under their statistics. And now Heather will finally tell you about our battle feature.
We worked with the Socket.io library to allow users to battle one another in real time. When a user clicks battle, a new fight is created in the database, and another logged in user is randomly fetched based on their unique socket ID. Once an opponent has been selected, an event is emitted that triggers a modal to render on the defender's page. They're then prompted to select a Pokemon, which updates the fight in the database, and upon clicking accept, an event is emitted back to the challenger, which notifies them to fetch the updated fight information. Both Pokemon are then rendered on the user's pages, and then they battle.
As developers, we are always striving to improve, to put our abilities to the test, and to be the very best, like no one ever was. And what better way to show off your programming skills than with a level 100 Charizard? So we had a blast building this app, and if you guys would like to catch them all, check us out at codemon.us. Thank you very much.
All right. If you like to vote for Codémon, vote like the post, like the pinned comment. I don't know. I find like doing those kind of things can be very addictive. So I don't know if combining that along with Pokemon is a good idea for not spending too much time practicing coding interviews. But you know, there can be worse addictions than that. I think that was very, very well done. Nicely, nice integration of the Pokemon component along with the Codewars aspect.
I'm the same. Cannot be trusted with games, especially if they have coding in them as well. Like you saw the grin on my face when they finished up. I can't wait to get my hands on this.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's great.
All right. So up next, we have our second augmented reality application of the day. And it really represents kind of what I like about the engineers that we build here at Fullstack and Grace Hopper, which is you can take a technology that's not totally mature and just run with it and just use your creative problem-solving skills to just, you don't know how you're going to build it at the start. You don't know if it's even possible, but you end up getting it done. And this seems really emblematic of it. It is build and go.
Hi, my name is Sarah Wooten, and this is Anna Sanchez, Danielle Howard, and Inji Song. And we created Build and Go, an augmented reality mobile app that lets the user search the world around them through their camera for parts to build a race car. Once the user finishes gathering their parts, they can try their luck at racing. We decided to build this app because we wanted to expand our stack to include a mobile framework and learn how to use augmented reality, or AR. This technology is what allowed us to superimpose computer-generated images into the real world. To create Build and Go, we used React Native, Viro Media for AR, React Navigation to navigate through the app, and Redux to manage state. And now Danielle will tell you how to play the app.
Thank you. To start playing, a user creates an account, saving it to the database. They are then routed to a home screen showing them instructions on how to play. Clicking Start Searching begins the AR experience. Once their camera opens up and they see the world around them on their screen, they are able to search for parts by moving their camera around. Once they find a part, all they have to do is tap it and it adds it to their inventory. Once they have parts added to their inventory, we send the updated inventory data to our server using React Redux. When researching different AR toolkits, we had a couple of different options. Given our 2-week deadline, we wanted to do something that leveraged our already strong knowledge of JavaScript. We decided to go with Viro Media because as of February this year, they offered support for AR core development with React Native. And now, Anna's going to tell you more about the infrastructure of our application.
Thank you. Our database to manage user inventory and parts was developed in Express, SQLize, PostgreSQL, and deployed to Heroku. The images for parts are hosted by AWS. The decision to fetch data from AWS and Heroku was made to scale our list of parts efficiently. An inventory is formed by an association between user and part models, and each part is associated with a type. When the user logs in, a call is made to our API via Axios to establish a user inventory state in Redux. The parts a user has collected are rendered on the inventory page, and the app determines a car is complete when the user has collected at least one of every type of part. And now, here's Unji to tell you more about how we use AR technology with React Native.
Thank you, Anna. One challenge we faced was learning how to navigate between AR and non-AR view. We were ultimately able to do this by pairing React Navigation Library with Viro AR Navigation. We could connect our database for our current inventory and parts to appear on their AR screen. Now, let's check out racing. Once user finds all the parts they need to build their car, they receive a pop-up that they have completed their car and are ready for racing. After clicking the button to start, the AR video will appear on their screen. We made sure to get via AR video according to the user's current standpoint. We move on to the result component, which we can navigate either AR for racing again, or inventory components full of parts that the user just collected. For our project, we learned several new tools and worked very hard in a team, and we are very proud of it. You can check out our app by going to our GitHub repository. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought this was a really innovative use of just like the entire idea of these AR games where you're going around collecting stuff. And I loved it a lot. It's so much better than just adding points and just collecting things just for the hell of it. And so, yeah, I think they did a fantastic job. I would love to. I mean, I guess I don't know anything about cars, so maybe this app could actually help me learn more about how things work underneath.
One interesting thing I heard too was that, you know, figuring out navigation and between like web views and then AR views. It's interesting. Like, you know, there's probably a lot of things in the AR world that people are just still figuring out for the first time, much less. And so there's no design patterns, which I like, because I feel like that's a kind of chance for you to really think about a problem from its first principles, right?
Yeah, and they were using ByHeart Media, which is the second app we've seen today using ByHeart Media, which is a brand new framework.
Are they sponsoring today's demo day or something? We'll figure out to get in touch with them. All right. Yeah, no, I think for someone who's seen that Ready Player One, all these projects are like, man, it's the beginning of the future, right? 2045 deadline.
That's right. And if you want to vote for Build and Go, it just appeared as a pinned comment, so go ahead and vote for it. Speaking of Ready Player One, the 80s are very cool again. Thank God I have my white sneakers on. The 80s is my decade. And I love this next app because it really takes a retro UI to learn how to code. So it takes this retro UI and it puts next to it this either a block-based or a text-based code editor, and allows you to control a character through a puzzle map.
Okay,
So,
I'm excited already.
yeah, so this one is really a treat. So I'll let the engineers at Codewitch tell you all about it.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Roxy Turner, and I'm here with my colleagues Neha Chowdhury, Xiaowen Ding, and Mimi Zhao to present Codewitch, an educational game built using Firebase, Express, React, Redux, React Conva, Blockly, JavaScript Interpreter, Sandbox, and the Ace Editor. So Codewitch is a game for kids age 5 to 13 learning JavaScript and programming skills, but learning how to program can be difficult and dull. Fortunately, gamification makes the process fun and rewarding, which is where Codewitch comes in. So not only does our platform fill a gendered gap in the educational technology market, but it provides both block and text-based editors, facilitating a learner's transition from a conceptual, abstract understanding of programming to a concrete practice of JavaScript skills and syntax. So now my colleague Neha is going to introduce our implementations of Firebase and Canvas.
Thanks, Roxy. On the backend, we have used Firebase to store in user information, including the level, badges, and the progress made. Firebase creates a secure system for the user to log in and sign up. With just a single API, the Firebase provides the current data of the user and syncs it in real time. When the user is offline, the real-time database uses local cache to store in the user information and syncs it with the database once the user is online. We use React Conva for creating canvas illustration in React. This gives us the better ability to create the visual aspect of the game. We use Canvas over other gaming libraries such as Phaser because our input is purely text and block based. However, the conv layering system made it very difficult to pass the prop down to the child component because of its deep nesting. However, we were able to overcome this by using Redux. Now, I will hand over to Chauvin. She is going to talk about Blockly.
Thank you, Neha. Blockly is a visual programming language. A Blockly program is an executable flowchart. Its blocks are highly customizable for not only color and label, but also behavior. For us, there were two challenges. One was to integrate Blockly into a React component that interacts with state changes and lets the user control the behavior of the widget. The other challenge was to hook up Blockly to the JS interpreter, which allows us to safely step through the generated program and update the React store. To make this happen, we created custom blocks in Blockly, extended the Blockly code generator to emit code for controlling the widget, and extended the internal API of JS interpreter so that it can execute the generated code, taking special care to scope variables in such a way that the interpreter always sees the latest React state. Now on to Mimi to talk about text editor.
Another major challenge we faced involved interpretation of user input in the text editor mode. In previous iterations of Codewars, user input was parsed line by line in order to prevent dangerous code from executing. However, this did not provide users the amount of creativity that we had desired. In order to solve this problem, we created our own external API, which included a JavaScript sandbox. Users can input their solutions into the editor and run the code. The code is then sent to our external API, and the API responds with a list of actions or errors. Our front end then provides users with visual feedback by parsing the response and dispatching either visual actions or displaying errors. By using an interpreter, we are able to provide users more freedom and more creativity. We worked really hard, and many hours of research and hard work went into making what we hope is a rich and enjoyable user experience. We hope you'll come try Codewars at code-witch.firebaseapp.com. Thank you.
That seemed very well done. I love the whole 80s look. I think in any educational coding environment, like, it really helps to have that visual feedback, because errors are tough to read. It's sometimes very intimidating, and so I think even the translation they were doing from the errors coming in from the back end, parsing them, and then showing things that make sense to the user on the front end, that was very well done.
Yeah, that was.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it's really cool that they have both the block and text editors, because that's one of the questions when you're doing sort of block-based programming, is it actually doesn't really scale that well. Like, complex programs are pretty hard to write, and so you sort of need to. It's very accessible at first, but you need to come out of it, and they're sort of providing a migration path.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, that's the first project thing I've seen at with a Blockly as a buildable component, which I like a lot. I like those kind of, if we really get started, but it's nice that they have the back and forth.
Yeah. Very impressive. Great job.
All right, so that's wraps up for the Grace Hopper projects. Up next, we have projects from Chicago. All right, so in Chicago, we have Ben Wilhelm. Ben is the senior instructor there in Chicago. And Ben, why don't you introduce Ben is at our brand new campus there. I can see it right behind him. A lot of shiny glass, and students look like they're very industriously working hard. So Ben, why don't you tell us a little about the Chicago program and the projects that we should be expecting to see?
Sure. So today, what you see behind me is our junior cohort. They are hard at work getting ready for their next demo day a few weeks from now. What we have here today are 4 teams representing the first cohort that will be graduating from our new campus here in Chicago. For this first team, I had a really clever intro planned out, but unfortunately, I can't remember what I was going to say. So they've built a tool that clearly I should have spent some time with this weekend. They are Kevin, Vida, and Aurora, and their team is called ByHeart.
Hello, we are Team Pirates, and we created an app to help you for your next presentation. Memorizing is hard. Rote learning works, but it takes forever. So we created an app that gradually increases difficulty to focus your mind and facilitate memorization. It's called ByHeart. Vida, will you show us how it works?
Thank you, Kevin. Let's get started by entering some text you want to memorize. Input a title and the text, and press Start. After reading the passage aloud for a few times, move the slider to the right. This will increase the difficulty level by removing some of the letters. See if you're still able to read it. When you are comfortable reading your text, increase the difficulty again. Eventually, you will be able to read the text with only the first letters of each word showing. If you prefer, you can remove the spaces altogether. If you forget a word, hover your mouse over it to get a hint. Hints will appear progressively. When you are done, you can save your passage. Kevin?
For your next training session, you can use line-by-line mode. Choose the difficulty level before you begin. ByHeart breaks your passage into smaller chunks, which are easier to remember. It also times you as you go, tracking your progress. This chart shows your times along with the corresponding difficulty. From the profile page, you can see stats for all your passages. You can filter the times by difficulty, document version, or both. Aurora?
Thank you. So one of the big challenges for this was removing letters in a way that appeared random to the user but would be reproducible. This was important for a consistent user experience and so that we could begin work on early versions of our progressive hint feature. You should be seeing that now. The progressive hint feature takes in any line of text and returns React components that contain all of the versions of that word. This allows us to dynamically generate hints based on the current training level, as well as remove or skip over any level of the word that has no change at that difficulty level. I'll see that here. So the technologies we used in this app were React and Redux on our front end, Postgres for our database, Node.js and Express for our server, React Viz for the data visualizations, and we use some styling from Semantic UI. We actually use this product, probably not complimentary, for this presentation. And if you'd like to use it to try and memorize your next presentation, you can go to byheart.club and either jump right in or sign up. Thank you.
Wow, so if you'd like to vote for ByHeart, click on the like on the Facebook post. There you go. You can't. Okay. That was really cool. I like that it was. I finally got your joke, Ben. But I like that it was a meta project they could use for their own presentation. But I also think it's like eminently useful right away. I could see someone just, and I'm sure the research is there that's a really helpful way to memorize. So very cool.
Yeah, I think before I saw that, I was actually wondering how this would work, and I love the whole procedure. Like I feel like shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more. No, okay. I got a little bit during the presentation. Yeah. All right, Ben. Let's.
Sorry.
To the next one.
Yeah, so since I had so much trouble memorizing my intro for the last team, I decided I would type out my intro for this team. But unfortunately, I have carpal tunnel from writing so much code over the last few weeks. Luckily, Dave, Josh, Kevin, and Jake have created a tool that can help me out here. It's called Vocode.
and Josh, together we built Vocode. While working on previous projects, we realized we needed to use the same code repeatedly. Our workflow would be slowed down by searching through boilerplate files, copying and pasting something close, and tediously changing the specifics to make it fit. That process gets old really fast. We realized this problem not only affects programmers, it affects anyone who writes with their computer regularly. There had to be a better way, so we asked, what if we could use our voices to help the process? Enter Vocode. Vocode is a desktop application that enables users to perform tasks with voice commands. It listens in the background, so you can use it in tandem with your favorite text editor. It's easily customizable, and you can share what you've made with other developers. Kevin's going to show us how it works.
Thanks, Dave. There's two primary ways to use Vocode. First, you can render code directly in the text editor embedded into Vocode. For this example, I want to create a new Express server. Usually, this involves copying over a lot of boilerplate code. It's kind of just a pain to write. However, by pressing Option Z and telling Vocode, give me an Express server, the code is rendered automatically into the text editor. This is great. I can quickly and easily get my code on screen. While getting code on screen is half the battle, it would be nice if I could do so in my normal workflow. To solve this problem, we decided to make Vocode a standalone desktop application using Electron. By moving our application out of the browser, users are able to access Vocode globally. For example, here I am in my text editor of choice, VS Code, and I need to create a new React component. Like before, I press Option Z, and I can tell Vocode is listening by this red triangle up in the tray. I then say, component, hello world. Vocode sends a confirmation that it's heard me and copy code to my clipboard. I can then paste into my projects and continue building. Now Jake is going to walk us through the user experience.
Thanks, Kevin. Our pre-programmed coding commands are things we found useful, but developers are all working on different projects. We wanted Vocode to be customizable as to be most useful for each individual developer. By clicking Add Snippet, a user is taken to an editor where they can add in their own custom coding commands. Users have the option to either type in new code or import it from an existing file. In this example, I'll import a Webpack configuration file that I'd like to use again. Now all I have to do is add in a short description and hit save. The snippet will now be shown in my snippet page every time I log in and can be accessed with just a simple voice command. As a developer, you're part of a community that shares and collaborates. We wanted our users to have access to snippets created by their peers. On the Discover page, users can find and add other users' snippets that they think would be useful. If the snippet isn't exactly what a user is looking for, they can fork it and make it their own. Josh will now take us through the rest of the app.
Thanks, Jake. We also wanted users to be easily able to navigate to websites important to their workflow. In the profile page, I can save important URLs and go to them with a simple command like, show me my GitHub, or where's a great place to learn how to code? So how does it work? When a user speaks into the microphone, they generate a binary large object, or a blob. We then take that blob and change it into a base 64 string, which we pass up to Google Speech Cloud API. Google parses the information, turns it into English, and gives it back to us to run through your dictionary. That then gives you the command you're looking for. To have your own personal voice coding assistant, head over to vocode.tk. Thank you.
All right, if you'd like to vote for Vocode, like the post, like the comment. Awesome.
Yeah, I think this this project was great. I think there's great applicability for accessibility and also just for developers who have carpal tunnel syndrome like Ben or just lazy like me, and so I think in that way it's helpful. I think they should also allow more just sounds like animal sounds, like if you're just yelling like then it kind of launches some commands like debugger or maybe pings your neighbors or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's very cool. I think it's I like they had the application that it could integrate to any browser with a bunch of snippets. Because I definitely, in long periods of coding. It's not that I have carpal tunnel, but your hands just get tired of typing the same stuff over again.
Yeah, I was happy when they got to the part where they use Electron to build like a desktop, a desktop app that was constantly monitoring this. Like I could actually see it being useful even beyond just coding, text snippets, which I think they mentioned as well. So that's great.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, well, I have given up trying to come up with clever intros here, so I'm just going to go read the news for a while. Nirali, Charlie, Warren, and Thomas are going to help me decide what's worth reading. Their app is called The Briefing.
Hi, my name is Nirali Shah. Along with my colleagues Charlie, Thomas, and Warren, we create The Briefing, helping users become more conscious consumers of media. So it's a pretty interesting time in journalism right now. With news and social media available at our fingertips, it's really easy to read and share stories, but some stories can be misleading because they're created with sensationalist, dishonest, and sometimes completely fabricated information. So we decided to create a tool that helps users become more knowledgeable and conscious about the news that they're reading in order to form their own opinions. But you know what? Instead of just talking about it, let's have Thomas show you.
Thanks, Nirali. To use our site, first you find an article you want to analyze. Take the URL, you copy it, and you paste it into our search bar. After that, you'll get a dashboard filled with various visualizations of the analyses you run on your article. In the upper left, we have a bubble chart representing keywords. Each bubble is its own keyword, and its size corresponds to the relevance of that keyword to your chosen article. If you click on the Aggregate tab, you'll see all of the related articles keywords, as well as their average relevance. To the right of that chart, you see the overall sentiment analysis. This reflects not only the content of the article, but the writing style. If you click on the Aggregate tab for this chart, you'll see the average sentiment for all of the related articles. Beneath that, we have a more in-depth emotional analysis. The bars on the left correspond to the dominant emotions of your chosen article, while the bars on the right correspond to the dominant emotions of all related articles. These emotions can be a lot to understand as a user, so we added some tooltips to help better explain these variables. And I'll hand it off to Charlie, who will walk us through some more of the functionality of the app.
Thanks, Tom. As you can see, the user has to copy and paste their link into our website. We realized this isn't always the most convenient option. We utilized feedback like this from the initial testing of our app and decided to implement a Chrome extension. This extension allows the user to move directly from an article they're interested in to our analysis. We persist this data using local storage, so the user can refresh the page without losing their data. On the right-hand side, you can see a collection of tweets related to the topic of the article, and you can move to the analysis of another article using the related section at the bottom. On our front page, you can download our Chrome extension, or if you don't have an article to start from, you can view today's briefing, which is an aggregate analysis of today's headlining stories. This is a map populated by the relative number of trending articles in each state. We have other data visualizations available so the user can view them and gain a better sense for the state of today's news. You can move directly to a headlining story or to its analysis at the bottom. This information is updated daily, so be sure to check back tomorrow. And now to Warren.
Thanks, Charlie. Under the hood, we have a lot going on. When you input a URL into our site or our Chrome extension, our custom-built web scraping application extracts information from that article, including its headline and title, headline and text. This information is then fed into Watson for analysis. Watson then returns to us a series of keywords, which are then fed into News API, giving us back related articles on that same topic. Those articles are then extracted for information again and sent back to Watson for analysis. All this data is ultimately stored in our database, Google's Firestore. Then on the front end, we use React Redux to grab the information that we need, and we utilize D3 for the data visualization you saw earlier. Along the way, we overcame a number of technical challenges. One major challenge that we encountered was visualizing our data using Victory.js and D3 while managing its interactions with React, one of the core technologies in our application. We also overcame issues in asynchronicity as we managed the timing of our web scraping application, and analysis from Watson, data visualization, and data storage.
As you see, the Briefings dashboard is a comparative analysis tool built to help you make more informed decisions about the news that you read. We had a great time putting it together and believe that there's a real application for it in today's news. Check us out at thebriefing.news, and thank you for your time.
All All right, if you'd like to vote for the briefing, like the post, like that pinned comment.
Yeah, I was happy to see a web scraping based project. I think it's like it's the cool thing that's not that cool anymore in the face of so many other cool things.
Cool thing.
And so it's something that's definitely not it's definitely non-trivial. And like, you know, as you do it at scale, there's a lot of interesting problems you have to solve just to get the right data out of a bunch of text from the page. And so you know, I'm glad to see that they solved all those problems.
And I've always loved like the social awareness of our students in terms of looking at problems and then seeing technological solutions for them. And I think that, you know, issues with news comprehension is something that, you know, is in the conversation right now. And I like that. I like the approach that the first step is giving people more informed about what they're reading and give them power tools. So I thought they're really smart about the Chrome extension, getting it there, and very nice data visualization. I know that, you know, Watson is doing some part of it, but also making that data accessible is important. So
yeah. Great job.
Well, great. So as we are finishing up here in Chicago, I am itching to get outside and run around the city a little bit. And Luke, Wayne, Eric, and Tom have built something to help me do just that. It's an augmented reality scavenger hunt. It's called Scavenge AR.
Hi, everybody. We are the 404. Eric, I'm here with my teammates Tom, Luke, and Wayne, and we built Scavenge AR, an augmented reality scavenger hunt that gives users the unique experience of traveling through a city and following clues and hints to find locations. Now, we've all seen bachelor and bachelorette parties out on these fun scavenger hunts, walking through town with a sheet of paper, checking off locations they've been and things they've done. So we thought it'd be really cool to build an interactive application that put a new and exciting twist on this activity that's been around for a long time. So when you open our app, you'll be brought to the login screen. Once you log in, you'll be prompted with a short tutorial on how to safely and effectively use our app. From there, you're brought to your profile page. If you have no active adventures, you'll head over to the adventure page and scroll through a list of available adventures. Here, we're going to choose the Speakeasy Stroll. And as soon as we say we're ready to begin, we're transferred to our camera screen, and boom, up comes our first clue box generated right there in front of us, wherever we are. Now, as you can see, we put this clue box in three-dimensional space so you can actually walk around it and view it from every side. So when you're ready to continue, you can tap on that clue box and up comes your first clue. Now, after reading that first clue, if you're still a little bit uncertain of where you're headed, you can access 2 hints right here from this screen. Now that we feel like we have a pretty good idea of where we're going, we're going to tap onto the next clue and up comes our map view. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Tom, who's going to talk a little bit about how we tackled locating our users.
Thanks, Eric. So considering this is a scavenger hunt app, one of the most important features here is to be able to track both your location and the location of your next clue. We had to fiddle around for a little while to make sure we could track this information without slowing down the app and without killing your battery in like 10 minutes. What we decided to do is go with React Native's built-in geolocation feature, which tracks your position every few seconds and compares that to the next location we have stored in our Postgres database. The problem was that information comes back in latitude and longitude. Most people, unfortunately, can't calculate that using coordinates, so we had to use a library called GeoLib, which takes in those coordinates and gives them back in feet. You'll see as you start moving, there's a big shaded circle on the map. We put that there to give you a general idea of where your next clue may be found. As you approach the center, you'll see that your distance is slowly going to decrease and your position on the map is going to update continuously. I'll now pass it off to Luke, who's going to talk more about the augmented reality and what happens when you get to your next clue.
Great, thanks, Tom. Now, once you're within 60 feet of your clue, the app will automatically fire open the camera view for you. Prior to tapping your next clue box, the app will show a success screen that shows the current location that you've found along with a short description. In this case, directions on how to find the speakeasy you've been looking for, so you can post up and grab a drink. When you're ready, feel free to swipe down on the panel to hide it. At this point, you'll be able to tap the next clue box to continue on. At this point, we work some killer three-dimensional ray casting magic to track your touch in relation to the screen's dimensions. With ray casting, we can check whether our augmented reality cube falls within the pixel ratio of your touch. If it doesn't, then we give the phone a vibration. If it does, we pop open the new clue along with the information and the hints. When you feel ready, you can move on to the map view to continue tracking your distance to the next clue. Throughout the adventure, if you ever feel stuck, you can feel free to swing back to the clue list, where you can reread all your clues and also check out your hints again. When building out the augmented reality for Scavenge AR, we encountered some tricky compatibility issues, which ultimately led us to using Expo 3 and 3JS to create the smoothest possible experience. And now, Wayne, some closing thoughts.
Building an application in 2.5 weeks is no small feat. And working with a technology as new as augmented reality can be a challenge. But challenges are the engines that drive discovery. With equal parts intelligence and creativity, we tackled them together as a team. Working as a team demands trust and mutual respect. Without those, we could not have quickly burned down our initial concept within the first 3 days and risen from the ashes. Asking for help is not an innate skill. Encouraging each other to humbly reach out when we thought we were at the end of our rope is what brought Scavenge AR to life. We're proud of it, and we think you're going to love it. Just be sure to look both ways before you cross the street. You can find us soon at scavengear.co. Thank you.
All right, very nice presentation. I appreciate the comments at the end. I think that resonates truly with me for always for capstone teams, that they overcome tons of challenges to get where they are. I think if you'd like to vote for Scavenge AR, vote, like the post, like the pinned comment. One thing also is it's another throwback to Ready Player One. I feel like it's again kind of, I don't know if it's in the air or whatever, but like this idea of like a scavenger hunt, an Easter egg hunt with clues in a virtual reality world.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think although this is AR, I think if it would be probably more magical. But I think I actually like this, like the AR version of this a lot better. Like you're walking around, getting a little bit of exercise, possibly running into people, cars, etc. Details, small details. But I thought this specific implementation, it was so. I really like the orientedness of the team. Like they had really thought about a lot of the different use cases. The user flow, which actually seemed very seamless, is very challenging to build in such a way in just 2.5 weeks. And so, major props to the whole team for putting it together.
All right, well, congratulations to all the Chicago teams. Great presentations as usual. Now we're back in New York for the Fullstack presentations. I'm here with Ashi. Ashi is one of 2 instructors for the Fullstack senior phase. And take it away, Ashi. Let's see what we're working on here in New York Fullstack.
Yeah, thanks, David. Yeah, so we have 10 very exciting projects for you. Our students have been working extremely hard over these last couple of weeks. And really over the last 13 weeks, this is a long, intense program, and emotions start to run pretty high around the end of it, especially the sense of loss that you've been through this battle almost with all of these people, and now you scatter to the 4 corners of the earth, and will you ever see each other again? And I think many of the best projects that we see as final projects come from solving a problem that the students are having acutely, and the sense of loss and maintaining community after graduation is a problem that they have acutely. And this next team has aimed to solve it. So please welcome the network.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Rao. These are my teammates, Tara Worley, Beth Barnes, Gabriel Messenger. We're the team behind the network. The network is a social networking application designed specifically for Fullstack alumni. We're really excited to show you what we've created, as we know this will be a valuable product for all Fullstack graduates. I will now pass it off to my colleague Tara for a quick demo.
Thanks, Johnny. This is the mobile version of our app. We created the network to address concerns from classmates about losing contact with students after graduation. This is designed to maintain and build upon valuable relationships created at Fullstack, and to help graduates reach out to alumni in the job searching process. This is our homepage. You can log in using Google. This brings you to our newsfeed, which is filtered by news, meetup, jobs, and forum. You can post links. You can also add comments, view comments. On our meetup, there's a calendar which shows upcoming events. The job section, if you're working at a company as an alumni, you can post if your company's hiring. And on forum, you can add and comment in code snippets. You can also search, filtering by keyword or by username. You can look at all of the alumni. You can view other users' profiles, showing the projects that they're working on, their links to their GitHub and LinkedIn account. You can see on a map where everyone's currently working, and you can filter by cohort, city, and company. I'm now going to pass it on to Beth to talk about our design strategy.
Thanks, Tara. So we designed the network using mobile-first responsive design, which means that we started by designing the app for a small screen, such as an iPhone, and then we expanded the design to work on larger screens, such as a desktop. So we chose this approach over graceful degradation, which is the traditional way of designing a website for desktop, and then as the viewport becomes smaller and the system simpler, taking away features and functionality. So we also designed it as a progressive web app, which means that Android users can actually download the network and access it from their home screen as if it were a mobile app. So we also configured service workers so users can access some of the functionality and the features even while they're offline. So we decided to go with mobile first and progressive web app because today more and more web traffic is moving from the desktop to mobile, and we wanted to ensure that our users could have the best possible experience on the network regardless of the device that they're using. So I'll now pass it off to Gabriel to talk about our backend.
Thank you, Beth. So for our backend, we decided to use Firebase. Our database was built using Firestore, which is a real-time and NoSQL database. The great thing about it is that we didn't need any Redux store or socket services when a new post is created, for example. We use Firebase authentication, so our users have the choice to log in anonymously or using their Gmail account. We would like to add login with GitHub and Facebook in the future. For hosting, the network is following best practices by using CDNs and HTTPS. Everyone on our team was able to deploy to production at least once using the Firebase command line tool. Finally, we use Firebase storage to offer fast and reliable uploads, as well as keeping our users' media secure. I'm now going to pass it on to Johnny to talk about the API we used.
Thanks, Gabriel. So we utilized two specific third-party APIs to enhance our user interface. We use Google Places so that users are able to easily input their work address within their profile. In addition, we use Google Maps API so that users are able to locate other Fullstack alumni based on their location anywhere in the world. In conclusion, I'd like to invite everyone here, all Fullstack graduates and upcoming graduates, to join us on thefsnetwork.com and stay connected to the community you all help build. Thank you.
Wow, very. If you'd like to vote for the network, like the post, like the pinned comment. It's my, it's in my long-time dream that a team would build something like exactly like that, and it looks so polished too, right out the gates. So
Yeah, they really took it and made it like a productionized. Like,
yeah,
that thing is still going to be up in a year, which is amazing, I think.
I know. Finally, a social networking app that I'm gonna use.
Yeah, are we allowed to do it? I'm installing it right now. I'm downloading it right now. It's really cool.
Facebook, join that. Join the network.
Yeah,
it's kind of ominous, though.
Delete Facebook, join FS Network.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, well, this next team has, okay, podcasts are this really beautiful media that I feel like I don't indulge in quite enough. There's something very powerful about the human voice. And the ability to receive a story asynchronously when you're doing other things, they kind of fit in to the patterns of your life in a more naturalistic way. And this next team would like to take the power of that media and make it more accessible for people's personal stories and really carry on the tradition of having an oral tradition within a family. This is Storio.
Hey everybody, my name is Reese Long, this is Jeff Goldbeck, and along with Aaron Young, we are the developers of Storio. And so simply put, Storio is a platform for storytelling. And the inspiration for Storio was our observation that there's no common place to preserve spoken stories. So those stories could belong to a family or a group of friends. And so our intent with Storio was to sort of build a place where we could collect those stories and share them. So now what you guys will see, a story created with Storio.
The features of Storio include the ability to record stories using the recording tool, to edit stories and add media such as photos and videos, and then to share your story either publicly or within private groups created by users. Stories can also be discussed through comments, browsed, and upvoted or downloaded.
Back to you guys. Okay. So now I'll discuss some of the technology that we used to build Storio. And so the first view that you come to when using the app is the recorder. So what you see there is, so to build the recorder, we tap into the web audio API, and that gives us access to the user's microphone. Here we have a visualizer built around an analyzer node. And one of the challenges we had is that the default encoding format for the web audio API is WAV, and for faster uploads and downloads, we used the lame MP3 library to convert that to MP3. So in using the application, you've saved that MP3, you're happier with your recording. The next view you come to is this waveform in the editor. The waveform is made with WaveSurfer.js, and so you're listening back to your recording and you want to add media at different time points. So you can upload files from your file system, videos, and what we're doing here is constructing an object with the files themselves and other metadata, such as how long do you want to show it for, captions, names. And the next challenge was, so we have these stories, we have these objects, how do we actually save these things and bring them together to create a story?
All right, thank you, Reese. So in order to save our stories, we're looking for a platform in order to, as a cloud resource. We went to the same place I go to get my laundry detergent, Amazon. Amazon is great because it's secure, it has quick upload and download time, and it's very scalable. So now I'm going to run through exactly how a file goes to and from Amazon S3 cloud storage. First, a request is made to Amazon Cognito, which returns a temporary authentication token. That token is used to bypass and authenticate with IAM, Identity Access Management. This ensures that the request did come from our site. Now, from the site, we get a temporary URL back, and that represents our file, and we can use it like so. Once we save the name of our file, we store it along with all of its associated metadata in our PostgreSQL database. We also store everything that's persistent on our website, like comments, user data, story data, and group data. And we also had a little challenge when naming our files. Just to ensure that there were no duplicate names so that nothing got overwritten, we decided to hash the file blob itself using MD5 hashing, a Spark MD5 hashing library. This has an added benefit of ensuring that the file itself was not corrupt and there is no naming collisions. Thank you all for listening to our presentation, and we invite you to tell your story at storio.stream.
All right, if you would like to vote for Storio, like the post, liked that pinned comment. I really like that idea too. I agree with what Asha was saying earlier, that the power of spoken word is very compelling, and I personally am very big into podcasts and love appearing on podcasts too. Just if anyone's out there who has one, but yeah. I know, and I like that. I like the ability to quickly create that content and share it with others. It's something that I remember now, like growing up, wishing that I had something like that for when my mom would tell like baby stories or stuff like that, that I could have captured that in a better way. So, very cool. All right, the next project.
Yeah, so I have frequently found myself on some website or another, and I just want to select some part of it and be like, what were you thinking? Or what do you mean? and have a discussion about it. And what I do now is I select it, and then I take a screenshot of it, and I post this image full of text to Twitter, which it just feels awful on several levels. And it also means that the conversation ends up very diffuse. So this next team has a solution for me. This is StackDocs.
Hi, my name is Dominic Mack, and these are my team members, Sarah Lane, Francisco Puente, and Alex Weiss. And this is StackDocs. StackDocs is a Google Chrome browser extension built with the needs of software developers in mind. It creates an additional layer of information on top of documentation pages, an open forum facilitating the exchange of knowledge and resources. StackDocs lets users highlight text on pages and then post related questions or annotations to a community of developers. Responses are updated in real time, and posts can be up or down voted and are sorted according to the resulting score. Now Sarah will tell you more about what's under the hood of StackDocs.
Thanks, Dominic. The StackDocs sidebar is injected directly into the DOM of any website that a user visits. Initially, our sidebar was inheriting CSS styles from the web page it was appended to, causing it to look different on every site. In order to solve this problem, we implemented the Shadow DOM API. The Shadow DOM hides our sidebar from the rest of the website's CSS, so we don't have to worry about our own styles getting overridden. In order to implement the highlighting feature of our extension, we use two JavaScript libraries called Unique Selector and Mark.js. Unique Selector allows us to take selected text from the page and create a unique CSS selector for it to store in our database. That way, when a user visits a page that has already been highlighted, we can take the exact location for them and render them on the page. Mark.js allows us to style text to look like it's actually been highlighted. It does this by taking selected text in a specified DOM node and wrapping it in a new HTML mark tag. We added custom classes to these mark tags to style them and make them clickable so that we could re-render the sidebar based on the selected highlight. Now I'll hand it over to Fran to talk more about creating a Chrome extension.
Thanks, Sarah. While creating StackDocs, we had to manage our code within the unique architecture of a Chrome extension. Chrome extensions are different from your typical web application in the sense that they run multiple scripts at once. The majority of our code runs in the content script. The content script is responsible for pulling and gathering information from the DOM. On the other hand, we had the background script, which runs when the sidebar is closed or application is closed. We use the content script to add in listeners so that a user can click on our icon to open and close the sidebar. Lastly, in our options script, we implemented Google OAuth with Firebase. And to speak more about Firebase, we have Alex.
Thanks, Fran. In addition to using Firebase to authenticate users through Google OAuth, we also decided to use the Cloud Firestore to persist our information in the cloud database. One of the primary reasons why we decided to use this technology is that it incorporates WebSockets. WebSockets allow users to receive new highlights, comments, and answers in real time without the need to constantly refresh their browser to receive the updated data. We also implemented a library called ReactiveX that creates database listeners similar to the native Cloud Firestore functions, except it provides more flexibility when working with data that's been deeply nested and also helps handling asynchronicity. This was particularly useful when rendering the thumbs up and thumbs down functionality in React in the homepage of our Chrome extension. Although we developed this application with the primary intent of creating an online forum for users to discuss code documentation, we think there's multiple use cases for this application, such as recording your favorite changes to online recipes that you frequently visit. So this concludes our presentation. We hope you enjoyed StackDocs, and if you would like to test this product for yourself, you can download it online in the Chrome Web Store at bit.ly/StackDocs. Thanks a lot.
All right, if you would like to vote for StackDocs, like the post, like their pinned comment. You know what's interesting? We've been looking at that space for a long time, right? I remember when Nim and I worked at Yahoo, we thought about this idea of annotated web, then genius.com, of course, that. But I always thought, like, it's got to be on the web, where you're at, not like on a different site, right? Where you're like kind of pulling it to some other annotation site. So I really like that idea. I think it's a classic challenge of like no one's annotating, no one's there yet. So when you're annotating, it feels lonely. But I do think someone needs to own that separately of the sites themselves, because it's like you want to take that personality with you around the web.
It turns out to be a very difficult problem too.
Yeah.
Because like at a minimum, the web page might have changed. And then also, how do you specify to like certain endpoints within the web page? Like even just getting annotations working is hard. And then there's the whole layer on top of it.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I remember when Medium talked, they had a whole blog post about how they have highlights and annotations and how that was it's still challenging. So yeah.
And they control everything about it.
Yeah, exactly right. It's on the site.
Yeah. All right, so this next team wanted to do something in machine learning. They were very excited about it, which as an instructor is terrifying, because the whole thing about machine learning is that your robot might just be kind of dense and not learn, which means that at the end of it, you're presenting all of the things you tried to get your robot to learn, but it didn't. So we encouraged them to definitely explore machine learning and also have an app that could function without it. And they ended up doing all of it. So their project has an experimental machine learning component, and also this component that uses sort of more tried and true machine learning APIs in order to give people a new experience of art. This is Artifact.
Thank you for that introduction. Hi, my name is Elliot, and these are my partners, Ramon, Matt, and Rob, and we're the developers of Artifact. So traditionally, museums have offered a more singular perspective when it comes to interpreting their work. However, there's a growing trend in this community. People are looking for a more open dialogue where they can discuss their personal experiences with art. So with our app, Artifact, users can now join in on the conversation going on at the museum. The experience begins when you first walk into the museum and open our app. From there, you are prompted to take a picture of a plaque associated with the piece you are interested in. From there, you will finally be brought to a forum where you can share your personal experiences and thoughts about the piece. Now I'll pass the mic to Ramon to talk about what happens when the app first loads.
Thank you. On React Native, we couldn't use the authorization flow we were accustomed to using. However, we managed to use an Expo component to get Facebook access tokens, and then once we sent that to the backend to be verified, we generated a UUID to send to the client. This was stored and then used as a shared secret and set as a header for future requests. After logging in, the first thing Artifact does is determine the museum that the user is currently at. We do this by calculating the distance between each museum and the current location of the user. We then show a page of the museum with the most active pieces on it. These pieces are ordered by the aggregation of upvotes of each comment and their replies. Knowing the museum is also useful for narrowing the search space for the recognition algorithm. This narrows it down to one museum's collection, a few thousand pieces at most. And now Matt will talk to you about that identification process.
To identify a work of art, we use the Google Vision Optical Character Recognition API to extract text from a given plaque. At first, we uploaded the full image data to our server before forwarding it to Google, but that was too slow. To speed up the request, we needed to implement streaming HTTP requests and responses, immediately streaming the data onto Google as soon as it's received on our server. We couldn't get the latency to 0, so we knew we wanted an engaging loading screen to pass the time. We used React Native animations to cross-fade through works of art, building a reusable loading screen component that can cycle through a given array of images. Another challenge we faced is that there can be multiple works of art for any plaque. To address this issue, we wrote our own scoring algorithm that could select matched works based on piece title, artist name, and year of the piece. After a piece is identified, the user's taken to a forum where they can discuss the work. Rob will tell you more about that.
One challenging aspect of our forum was rendering nested posts with parent-child relationships. We took advantage of React's recursive abilities with having a component that renders all top-level posts while calling itself repeatedly to render the next layers. In the forum, users can favorite works of art, and they can view all their favorited works in the user page. In the user page, they can also view recommended works generated by our graph-based recommendation engine. We also have a beta feature that allows users to take a selfie and style it as a work of art. We use Engstrom's fast style transfer algorithm to achieve this with a node child process that interfaces with his Python script. This is Artifact. To use our app, download Expo and search for Artifact on the App Store. We currently support the Whitney, so keep us in mind the next time you're there. We learned a lot about this. We learned a lot doing this program, and we would never have done it without our fabulous instructors and fellows, so thanks for listening.
All right, to vote for Artifact, like the post, like the pinned comment. I really like that. I think it's very cool. It's what I've always wanted, to not feel like an idiot when I'm walking around a museum and actually be able to have a conversation about pieces that are moving to me, and to have that, and to not, maybe also some cheap, to not pay like that $6.95 to rent that audio tour guide thing. So to have it in your phone and app, I think someone needs to do it. And I'm surprised museums haven't picked up on that people want to engage with the art and understand what's going on, not just appreciate it or read some like long, thing written by an art historian. So very cool. I hope that they actually spend time getting that deployed.
Yeah, I think sorry, I was just saying this. Sometimes there's actually not enough information about, like, if you really like something, like it's too short or there's not enough context. Art is all about the story, right? And so even more than the actual thing. And so I think that's very important. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, they put in the legwork on that one. Like when they say at the end that they support the Whitney, they went to the Whitney and took photos of like 200 placards in order to like get all the art pieces in the database.
Wow, I wonder how many times they got kicked out of the Whitney while doing this. Maybe
I think 0, but I don't know.
Okay,
I heard no stories about them getting
good.
kicked out.
That's cool.
All right, this next team is addressing the problem of charitable giving, specifically that you want to give, but at any given moment you feel perhaps a little bit strapped for cash. So to address this, they are trying to skim just a little bit off of all of your transactions while simultaneously giving you some positive feedback, some positive visual feedback on your community giving. This is Beneficent.
Hello, everyone. My name's Emilio, and these are my teammates, Steven, Kyle, and Michael. And we'd like to start off with a few questions. Every month, you set aside a few dollars for donations, right? No, you forget. Sometimes you don't do it. What if we told you there's an app that makes it more fun and easy? Well, introducing Beneficent. With Beneficent, donating to your favorite charities is easier than ever. Let's imagine you just made a credit card transaction for $2.44. Rounding up to the nearest dollar, the remaining 56 cents would then be automatically earmarked to donate to the charities of your choice. What makes it fun? Every user has a garden where plants grow proportional to the amount of dollars you're putting in. For every $5, a new fruit or vegetable grows in one of the garden's 9 plots. And every organization has their own garden. Why gardens? We chose gardens because we believe community gardens are a natural symbol for charitableness. People don't make community gardens for themselves. They make it to help out their community. They make it to increase access to fresh food. And it's benevolent. Here's Steven with the user demo.
Thanks, Emilio. When a user logs in, they can go to their account page to enter all the bank information needed for all the cards they'd like to donate with. On our organizations page, users then can research organizations and choose which causes they'd like to donate with. Users can choose what % of their change goes to which charity. If users are running a little low on cash, they can have the option to give only a fraction of their total change. Or if they're feeling extra generous, users can give what amounts to over 100% of their total change. As users build their own personal garden, they're also contributing to each charity's community garden, which has a lump sum of all the money donated to that charity. The community garden is made up of 9 plots, which serve as a leaderboard to help promote competition. The top 9 users get their own personal plot, and they get to put their favorite fruit or vegetable on that plot. To help our users climb up the leaderboard, we give the option to give direct donations to any charity that they choose via our direct donation page. Just type in the amount, the charity, and donate away. Next is going to be Kyle, who's going to talk about the technologies we've used.
Thanks, Stephen. When building Beneficent, we decided to make a progressive web app, utilizing React and Material UI to ensure a clean and consistent user experience across all devices. We use Plaid to monitor a user's new transaction and Stripe to charge a user's monthly donations. The Charity Navigator API was also used to compile a list of charities located in New York. We deployed our app using Google's Firebase and used their NoSQL Cloud Firestore to hold all of our data. Firestore's main benefits are the ability to synchronize your data across multiple clients and react to updates in real time. Despite the complexity involved to relate our data, we appreciated the speed and scalability Firestore had to offer. I'll now hand it off to Mike, who will go into the data flow.
Thanks, Kyle. From the front-end application, the user's bank account credentials are sent to the back-end node server. The back-end node server then connects to the Plaid API in order to establish a webhook and to receive access tokens, which are then later used to verify future communication between the back-end server and Plaid. When the back-end server receives a webhook notification, this alerts the server that a new transaction or a new user transaction has occurred, and that the back-end server needs to request additional data or the transactional data from the back-end from the Plaid API. That data is then saved to Google's Cloud Firestore. Firestore serves as the single source of truth for our application, which the application uses Firestore's REST API in order to read and update the data in real time. We invite you to check out the app at www.beneficent.com and by downloading the app to your iOS or Android device by navigating to the site and adding it to your home screen through your browser settings. Thank you.
All right, if you would like to vote for Beneficent, follow the instructions below. And now, and you know, I was just say like I do like kind of like habit-changing apps, especially ones that involve like small games. I think that's really the path to getting people to change behavior longer term. Okay. I'd like to introduce Gabe Lebec, another instructor at Fullstack. Gabe will be leading us through the next 5 Fullstack projects.
Just wanted. So I mean, I also just wanted to say about Beneficent that it's actually even with the tools like Plaid and Stripe, it's actually notoriously annoying and difficult to deal with financial data you get from banks, and you know and so I think the idea itself is definitely benevolent, but also I think the implementation must have been difficult. I'm sure there was a lot of wrangling behind the scenes to make that work, and so yeah.
All right, well, Gabe's getting in. He has to join the Zoom room for his mic to be audible to our wonderful audience out there in
He has to join
Facebook
the
land.
Oasis.
He has to join the Oasis. Yes, it actually was inspired from Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Or, we don't know, Ernest Klein might have been. He might have taken it from us too. So.
Taken it from us.
Yeah.
Possibly.
All right, so are you in, Gabe? Okay. No, I think now he's unmuted. Oh, you know what? You're in the wrong Oasis. You're in Sector 14. You need to join the fullstackacademy.com/Oasis.
You're in Sector 3. You need to be in.
So go to fullstackacademy.com/the Oasis. Yeah.
In the coding sector.
Why do I bring what? Okay. All right. And so I will introduce the next team. This team is MapStack. And take it away, MapStack. What?
So I can finally do my intro. Sorry about that, everybody. We talk a lot at Fullstack about the technical concept of composition. combining things together to make new macroscopic versions of things, function composition, component composition, etc. So this next team very creatively came up with the idea of map composition. All right, take it away, guys.
Thank you, Gabe. I'm Noelle Loriano. This is Christopher McIntosh, Dan Ryan, and Luis Rincon, and we are Team MapStack. Are you the type of person to read through blogs endlessly before you go on vacation, trying to find all the best spots? Or are you not much of a planner and rather just wing it, only to return home and realize that you missed the best local hangout spot just around the corner from your Airbnb? Either way, MapStack saves you time and allows you to curate a list of places to check out with ease. Imagine Instagram meets TripAdvisor. Chris will further explain MapStack's concept and tech stack behind it.
Thank you, Noel. MapStack is a social media platform that allows users to create, follow, and layer maps through a process we call stacking. These stack maps allow you to group together a perfect collection of places to explore in your own neighborhood or anywhere around the world. With the help of Trello, Slack, and wireframing, we created MapStack using the Agile methodology. Our front end consists of React, CSS Grid, Flexbox, and Material UI, which gives us our cool animations. We utilize Firebase Google Authentication for a seamless login experience, and the Cloud Firestore is a real-time NoSQL database which serves as our backend. Now I'll pass it on to Dan to talk about how the maps work.
We use the Google Maps API to render our map. More specifically, use the third-party package named Google Maps React to help get the Google object on the props. We incorporated our search using the Google Places API to ensure that our search results were accurate and drop pins in the correct locations. A problem we had with the Google Maps API was that it was hard to have the search autocomplete and pins drop for search requests that specifically were in the current bounds of the map. To solve this, we updated the map's bounds every time the map reached an idle state using built-in listeners in the map. A problem we had with the Places API was if we were all working on a map feature that day, we quickly hit our place request limit and no longer be able to work on the feature. To solve this, we started adding the places to our own Firestore once a user added that specific place to their map. To talk a bit more about the Firestore, and I'll hand the mic over to Lewis.
Thank you, Dan. To create our follower/following and favorited maps features, we use Cloud Firestore, which is a real-time database, as Christopher mentioned earlier. This provides us with a backend where we could observe user activity in real time by utilizing listeners on the database. For example, we implemented a relationships collection, which contained the collections of follower/following ID pairs. We also had a favorited maps collection, which contained documents with the map ID and the user ID who favorited that map. We also integrated Algolia API, which is a complex search engine capable of delivering real-time results on searches right into our navigation bar. This allows fellow MapStack users to find you through fuzzy searching. Now I'll pass it over to Noel to talk about some more features.
Thank you, Luis. To avoid tags from updating before they were read to the database properly, we use the debounce module. Proper tags are crucial, as searching for them is the best way to find maps for your trip. For example, if Luis is going to Copenhagen, he can click the search maps link in his sidebar, and then while typing tags into the input field, it'll get queried into the database on change in real time to quickly narrow his search results. After favoriting maps, Luis can then create a stacked map for a perfectly composited map curated by people who know best. We invite you to plan your next trip and share cafes from either in your local neighborhood or all the way in Paris with us at MapStack.
All right, to vote for MapStack, like the post, to like the pinned comment for MapStack. Very, very nice project. I don't know if I don't know if that team knew, but Nim and I, our first claim to fame was building a project very similar to that. We called Map Mixer. So I still own the domain mapmixer.com if they are so interested.
By the way, this whole thing is also patented by you and I. So
yeah, well, Nim and I also have the patent on this.
We actually did license this team our patent. Yeah.
It's not actually a patent yet because Google and Yahoo have been fighting over it for 2 decades now. So it's still in contention. Yeah. But yeah, very cool. I like your analogy of the composition of different maps that people like together. It's a apt analogy.
Thanks a lot, David. Now that we got my mic sorted out, I just wanted to say, of course, thank you very much for having me on. It's always a pleasure. I'm really excited to show these remaining Fullstack teams. So speaking of which, our next team, we saw at least one project already that talks about blockchain and how hip and excited people are about blockchain as a concept. I think that the market has cooled quite a lot since late 2017. So this next group embraced the concept that you might actually lose money on the blockchain. So
No way. No, I don't think that's possible. Cancel it.
Hello, my name is Ildi Bilali. This is Marco Lisanek, Anthony Huang, and Sunny Kim. And together we created Wager, a decentralized application that allows users to find and create and settle wagers utilizing the power of smart contracts and the Ethereum blockchain network. Wager makes it easy for users to create custom agreements between multiple parties based on sporting events, head-to-head competitions, or any agreement between two sides. At an agreement's conclusion, Wager provides a straightforward mechanism for ensuring the winning parties receive Ether directly to their Ethereum wallet. Users can create and enter any number of wagers, and our site provides an easy-to-use platform to manage their contracts. I will now pass it on to my partner Anthony, who will explain to you the various features of the website.
Thanks, Ildi. So users can access Wager by logging in with their email and password, which is authenticated through Firebase. Upon signing in, users are directed to our homepage where they can view a list of all currently active wagers. They can then click on a specific wager to see more details about the offering, chat with others involved in the wager, and ultimately join in on the fun. Once a user has decided a site to wager in, our site will request information from their MetaMask account. MetaMask is a Chrome extension that allows users to access decentralized apps on the Ethereum blockchain like ours. We use MetaMask to verify that the user has enough Ether in their account to wager in and collect their ante. Our site also allows users to create custom wagers as well as pick wagers pre-filled with information regarding upcoming NBA and Premier League games. As a user is creating a wager, we will once again request information from their MetaMask account so that we may associate the user as a manager of the contract. This is necessary so that the user can later pay out the contract and divvy up the pot amongst the winning side. Wager also provides a real-time chatting platform allowing users to speak both publicly and privately with each other so that they may discuss and arrange their own wagers. Now Sunny will talk to you a little bit more about decentralization.
Thank you, Anthony. Wager represents a departure from traditional web applications in its use of the Ethereum platform for providing the backend. Traditionally, web applications store and retrieve data through a centralized server. However, as a decentralized application, Wager stores its data on a peer-to-peer network of machines as opposed to a centralized database. When a user creates a new contract, our application generates an Ethereum smart contract. This contract contains information regarding each individual agreement. Through a linked list node-like structure, each contract also contains references to every other contract on the blockchain, maintaining a level of immutability and security traditionally unavailable to local databases. Our contract and blockchain functionality was programmed in Solidity. We also use Truffle as a development and testing framework, and Ganache for hosting local blockchains during the development process. We also use Web3 and MetaMask. Web3 is a JavaScript API that allows for communication from our front-end architecture built on React and Redux on the Ethereum-specific JSON protocol. MetaMask injects Web3 into our application, which allows users to view our site on any common browser. Now, Marco will speak to us about a number of challenges we faced during the development process.
Thank you, Sunny. One major challenge we encountered was finding a way so that when a user creates their own wager, that their own MetaMask account would be charged for the creation of that contract and not ours. Every time new information is added onto the Ethereum blockchain, a commodity of Ether known as gas is required to complete this process. Traditionally, the person who originally deploys the contract onto the blockchain would be charged with this task. However, this would be prohibitive to the maintenance of our site. To work around this issue, we created two classes of smart contracts, where the first one would be a factory contract, which we would then deploy onto the blockchain a single time. This contract would then be responsible for deploying more contracts onto the blockchain every time a user would create their own wager. This way, they would be charged gas and we would not be. Overall, Wager provided us a valuable opportunity to learn about the Ethereum platform and to create an application where users can seamlessly arrange agreements, create contracts, and hopefully even earn some Ether. Check us out at wager-up.firebaseapp.com. Thank you.
All right, if you'd like to vote for Wager, like the post, like that pinned comment. That's very cutting edge, I think, too. I haven't seen that before. I've only started seeing that recently, where apps are generating smart contracts that can then like recursively generate new smart contracts, almost as a smart contract as a service. So very cool idea, I think.
Yeah, that whole factory aspect was a twist that I don't believe I've seen on it myself before.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see that come together. Yeah, so one thing that we spend a lot of time here coaching is, of course, about programming concepts. Something that is maybe not as classically associated with programming or computer science, maybe as public speaking. But in the modern market, with so many tech talks and conferences, I think public speaking is becoming more and more required job skill for this market. So our next group aimed to improve all of us at that, and let's give them a listen.
All those things override a guilt by association.
I want everyone just to like love him. I just don't get why she's being like so hard-headed about it. Why do you still have pictures of me and like my ex here?
I don't want to hear like. I want you to take like out of the dictionary.
Hi, my name is Micah. These are my teammates Whit, Sarah, and Danny. We are the creators of Speaker, your personal speech coach. Are you preparing for a presentation or want to work on your everyday communication? Speaker analyzes your clarity, pace, and filler word usage. We also provide a thesaurus that offers you other suggestions or alternatives for words that you use too often. As a user, you log in and are directed to our record screen. When you finish recording, you press Analyze to send your audio to our server. There, in a moment, you'll be directed to a report screen where you'll be able to replay our report.
So, like 87 years ago, like some guys made like a country.
You can also view your transcript and see synonyms for any given word just by clicking on it. Return to your report screen and you'll find we will display statistics about your speech. If you return to your profile, we automatically save your audio where you can edit it or delete it. Here's Whit.
So I think we all know this is obviously the best app anyone has ever seen. But we did run into some interesting complications bringing it all together. We bootstrapped our app's front end using Create React Native App, which sets up an Expo boilerplate. This was a bit of a double-edged sword. It's great because it makes building and publishing mobile apps really easy. However, Expo is a restrictive environment. It's incompatible with native code dependencies, which would have made it very easy to just stream audio directly from your mobile device. Because of this restriction, what happens when a user hits Analyze is somewhat complicated. Behind the scenes, we're sending your audio files to both Amazon S3 and IBM Watson speech-to-text. Because Expo makes it difficult to work with large binary files, we send this information to our own Express server, which handles the API calls. Sarah, tell us how.
To send audio from our server to IBM Watson, we use Mortar, a storage engine that handles multi-part form data. However, Watson creates a new transcript every time a speaker pauses for longer than half a second. So what we receive back is a deeply nested object containing an array of several transcripts, in addition to a confidence score for each transcript representing how well Watson heard the user speak. To make this data usable, we developed an algorithm that creates a single transcript from the array of transcripts and also calculates a single weighted confidence score based on the length of each transcript. If our weighted confidence is below 85%, we send an error response to our client, which then prompts the user to re-record their speech. If we're confident in the transcription, our server-side code analyzes the complete transcript to count ums, likes, and pacing, and stores these statistics in our local database. We also flag certain words and phrases that are considered bad convention in public speaking, such as actually or just, in red. And here's Danny.
Thanks, Sarah. Finally, the transcript feature uses another simple package that loads the source into device RAM within our app, so lookup time is instant. In the future, we hope to add data visualization so that you can track your progress over time. This was Speaker, and we hope you liked it. If you want to check us out, download the Expo app and scan the QR code above. Thank you for your time.
If you would like to vote for a speaker, like the post, like their pinned comment, I could definitely tell that team had used their app because they all spoke very eloquently and not one filler word the whole time. So that was quite impressive.
Okay, well, no, I wasn't even tracking that, but that's good to know. Yeah, I think it's actually a really nice way for people to get better without having friends who also know, or just having friends in general. Yeah.
I know, I feel so self-conscious right now because I don't want to say any likes or ums or hovers, but I do like the app. I do like the voice recognition to get the likes and actually. I think that's something that's actually possible, whereas the others are harder, but it's a great way to get started on something that helps people improve right away.
Yeah.
And even handling messy data that you get back from an API where now you have to sort it, and it's not always clear exactly how to combine those results. I think they did a bang-up job.
Yeah, very cool.
This next group, it's funny. In previous demo days, I've seen games have been an extremely popular category, sometimes up to 35 or 50% of a cohort makes games. Remarkably few games this time around. Maybe this cohort's just an especially serious one. I don't know if that's true. I'm seeing some shaking heads. In any case, this next group did inject a bit of fun. Let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Bruce, and these are my teammates, Dongwoo, Philip, and Connor. And we are the developers of Kingdom. So Kingdom is a location-based role-playing game to help you get to know your neighborhood. Think Game of Thrones meets Foursquare. So once you log in, you pledge your allegiance to your kingdom, which is the neighborhood where you live. And as you make your way around your city, you're able to explore and find new restaurants and events, and this is based on Foursquare's API. Now with each check-in that you make, your account grows and you unlock new avatars like a knight or the highest level, a king. Additionally, your kingdom grows stronger as well. And you compete with your friends and their kingdoms for supremacy. So we built this game in React and Redux on the front end and Node and Postgres on the back end. So here's Dongwoo to discuss the user experience.
This is our website. Let's play now. You can see dashboard, real-time updating, what is happening around neighbors. I'm coding for so long, I need some massage. Let's just search for a good massage place. When you search, some place will appear near you. So let's check it out. You can click one of them and 74 people check in, maybe not really great. 564 people check in. Oh, let's check in. In order to check in, you have to be at that location. So for the demo purposes, I will show you how it works. You can click one of the castles like this yellow one. And when you check in, boom, change the blue color. What happened? Let's check the detail. Kingdom is Limbrook, King is Doctor Who, Keeper is Doctor Who. By the way, I'm Doctor Who. I colonize this place. And there is also leaderboard. It shows top 10 the kingdoms, users, and establishment. So you can check what was happening while you sleep. You can see blue castles flew from the Limbro to the Manhattan. Look at all activities. Now I'm passing the Phillips.
Thanks, Dongwoo. I'm going to talk about some of the design elements of our project, and here you can see some of our many map views. From the get-go, we were very intentional about how we wanted our game to look and feel. We're a medieval based or medieval themed app. So we took a lot of cues from retro styles and old school fantasy and adventure role-playing games. For example, our main button interface is inspired by some of the older Legend of Zelda titles you guys might recognize, the way the player's items are always mapped visibly on screen. And we wanted some very retro styles, but at the same time, we wanted to find that good middle ground. We were looking to make an app that felt very accessible and contemporary, something that was very easy to use and intuitive, that you could use every day, and was also map focused, such as Yelp or Uber. And each step of the way, we made sure that it would look handsome on browser as well as mobile. And we also wanted the user to feel like they were in a very interactive and responsive environment. So to do this, we utilized a lot of CSS animations and React CSS transition groups. This helps draw the user's attention when there are changes to state, such as loading or network events from other users. And also our maps can change themes depending on the time of day or what level of experience the user is at. And we just wanted the user to feel like they were in a very socially connected environment. Now I'm going to pass it to Connor for some back-end logic.
Thanks, Phil. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our game rules and how we implemented them on the back end. As Bruce mentioned earlier, when a user signs up for our game, they're assigned a kingdom based on where they live. The goal of our game is to conquer as many establishments for your kingdom as possible. But how do you do this? Well, each kingdom has a castle for every establishment they've checked into. When a user checks into an establishment, they add to their castle's strength. The kingdom with the strongest castle conquers that establishment. When we were designing our game, we quickly realized that our game logic heavily relied on this complex web of associations. We thought about using a non-relational database, but then we realized that certain features of Sequelize, such as getter methods and eager loading, would be really beneficial to us. So we ended up developing our backend with PostgreSQLize. We also very quickly settled on this idea for Kingdom. We sort of recognized that a lot of people in the city take pride in their neighborhoods. We thought if we made a game that competed neighborhoods against each other, people would be really drawn to it. So if you love your neighborhood like we do, you should check out Kingdom today. Thank you.
All right, vote for Kingdom. Like the post, like their pinned comment.
I think that experience was very well designed, and I like how they really thought about like how a user would be going around and actually physically visiting things and competing in the game.
I also think it's incredible in 2.5 weeks to not only have something working. I mean, to have something working at all in 2.5 weeks is incredible, but to have something that is also where they thought about the UI and also the design, right? They clearly had put some thought into the style and, designed animated graphics, or even if they found, the fact that all that had been assembled and something that looked quite usable was very impressive. And it looks fun. I like games that are real world rather than just arcade, because it kind of gets you out of the chair.
Yeah, as one of our teaching fellows who is a self-proclaimed Foursquare addict said, I would definitely play that game.
Okay, wow.
Okay. I have one more application to present to you all. Last but not least, sometimes it takes a really elegant solution to come along to make people realize there was a problem in the first place. Some problems are so just common and entrenched in our day-to-day lives that we don't recognize them as such until something comes along and really shows you how much better it could be. So I think this next app embodies that. Now let's take a look.
Hello, everyone. My name is Johnny Araujo. This is Matthew Appleby, and that's Alfonso Millan. And the app we have developed is called Painless. Raise your hand if you've ever enjoyed a nice outing at a restaurant, but whenever you're ready to pay, the waiter was nowhere to be found. Whether it's a phantom waitstaff or simply leaving your card at the bar, paying for your outing is a painful experience we hope to make painless. With Painless, you're free to search for any participating merchant, filtering by either location or favorite, in order to create a new tab. Once a new tab is created, each item you order will appear on your tab in real time, as entered by the merchant. Whenever you're done eating or drinking, no problem. Just hit the closeout button, select the tip you want, and be on your way. Users also have the option to update their profile, update their payment information, and see any previous tabs that they've opened up. Additionally, anybody who wants to register their establishment with Painless can do so directly in the app. We created Painless to be a progressive web app, which means that regardless of the device you're looking at it from, it's always going to feel and look like a native app. And now, to speak more about the technology behind Painless is Matthew Appleby.
Thanks, Johnny. So our stack was primarily React and Firebase. This stack was fantastic for real-time updates as well as quick development, but it's not without some challenges. So one of our challenges that we had was kind of getting a native look and feel while using a progressive web app. So a progressive web app is an application, it's built like a website, but it's meant to be saved on your phone, just like a native application. So what we did to achieve this, we put a navbar at the top and a tab navigation at the bottom. We flexed those so they stayed there. Inside, we had a div that will scroll vertically, and these things combined kind of allowed us to mimic a lot of native applications in terms of how you navigate through them. Another challenge that we had was error handling for our Firestore functions. So Firestore functions are something that runs independently on your Firestore database. So when we had these running, if they encountered an error, they'd just throw an error into the Firestore console. It wouldn't make its way back to the user, and this just wasn't a very good experience. So what we did to handle this is we actually put a listener on the document that triggers the Firestore function, and then the function will run, and it'll either put an error message on there or it'll put a success on there. And then depending on what we find, we either service that message to the user or we move on to the next step. With more challenges we face, Alfonso.
Thanks, Matt. Another challenge that we faced was persisting the user information throughout our application. We initially designed our React components to each call the database, but this was performing a lot of extra queries. So what we ended up doing was we added a listener to our main app component to listen to changes in the user object in the database, and this allowed us to have the user information globally available to all of our other components in real time. Obtaining the user's location was also a challenge because the HTML5 location API is callback based, and we ended up wrapping this in a bunch of promises, which allowed us to sequence our interactions to handle the asynchronous flow to allow our users to filter by location. And lastly, because we built this application using React, we couldn't perform regular tests in a normal DOM environment. So we ended up replicating the API of React using the testing framework enzyme to create a shallow rendering of our React components. If you would like to check out the rest of our application, or if you would like to sign up as a participating merchant, I invite you to check out our deployed site, painless.co. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Gabe, I think you put it well. It's like it is a solution to a problem that once they say it, it seems obvious. Like, why do we not have this already? So if you'd like to vote for Painless, like the post, like their pinned comment, I like the students who done, Painless know that I think it's one of those things where there's definitely a need in the market. If it's something that they want to explore from an entrepreneur standpoint, they should definitely think about it. I could see that getting adoption. I mean, not now in my 30s, but in my 20s, I've definitely woke up the next day and says, why am I missing half my credit cards? And they're scattered throughout karaoke bars in the so I definitely can see the use case for that. It's very cool.
I wish I could make that claim about not having done that in my 30s. In any case, I totally agree. And if I could have one final thing that I would say here as a presenter, it would be that these applications were built in record time. 2.5 weeks of calendar time, but that includes rehearsals and making the screencasts.
Yeah.
So it's really a solid 2 weeks of effort from all of the projects. I was very impressed. Certainly, my some credit as I have great. I can only credit as I have fellow instructors, including Ashi and Jeff, and a team of helpful fellows, as is the case across all the programs. So this is, as always, a team effort, and I'm just really happy and privileged to be a part of it. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Gabe.
All right. Well,
no, I was just gonna say it is always a privilege to even see all the work that comes out. I think that it's amazing when because 2 weeks in life kind of pass by pretty fast, but it's amazing when you're actually productive, like what we can accomplish. And I think it's part of the magic of programming too, that you can you can scale your own time and really get to realize the things that are just in your mind. And so, yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, to see these things as form as ideas a couple of weeks ago, and then now be sites that you can go visit, and possibly business that can be started. Incredible. All right, well, that wraps up another demo day set of team presentations. I'd like to everyone give yourself a round of applause. It was an incredible day, incredible set of work. All right, so I believe that we're going to do some behind the scenes work now to Slack out the winners, or Slack out the developer's choice poll into Slack. So let me see if that's happening. It just happened. Okay, so right now all developers, or all the students here graduating today, are voting on their own personal choice, students voting. I think, and while they're voting, I like to just, I guess, share some thoughts from seeing these projects today. One is, Gabe mentioned a lot fewer games, which, I have nothing against games. I love games. And a lot of interesting stuff with a lot of stuff in augmented reality and 3D. I think there's a growing sense that programmers are traditionally people who are doing 3Ds, like designers and video game creators, but there's a sense that that's converging with the web now, right? And that we can't just like leave that to the game makers, that UI interactive experiences are going to be things that we want to develop, at agencies, at companies, and even for just, SaaS type apps. So that's one thing. I think blockchain is continuing to be pretty hot. I like, there was Wager, there was what was the community Craigslist one? I can't remember the name for that one, but I like that one as well. And we'll see. I think blockchain is definitely still in the early stages and talked about as an idea, but to see applications of it that students are recognizing, that's a great thing.
And we see a lot of applications that have nothing to do with cryptocurrency, which which I think is really the right places to be exploring what's possible with it.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of interesting use cases with smart contracts. And I think we mostly see everything on the Ethereum chain, which given how easy it is for JavaScript developers to kind of work on that stack, I think that's a good sign. Also, it's a good sign for people who are good at JavaScript.
Yeah, I think JavaScript is again an example of JavaScript eating up everything, right? And for better or worse. Other things that we continue to see hot. Firebase continues to be a very much a student favorite. I think they've invested a lot into developer ergonomics around Firebase. And then Expo is another big hit. I guess React Native is really, it makes it easy to deploy, makes it easy to get it going. So it's really crazy, man. When we started Fullstack in 2012, the idea that JavaScript would be building native apps with AR integration seemed like, it's like, of course you can imagine it if someone told me that, but I was like, I highly doubt that, right? Like, there'd be the rise of things like Swift, rise of things like, better Java JVM languages, but people like JavaScript. People like it.
It could take, if you go with the pure native worlds, like I think it can take a good amount of time just to get yourself set up, especially if you're coming in as a new developer into Objective-C or Java-based programming. Like, I think things like React Native and Expo on top of React Native has really made people more productive with their time at the end of the day. Like, get to the point of the application and be able to build things that are useful and put your energy in places where you're actually going to make your app better rather than just configuring settings files. And
yeah, the tooling and ecosystem in the JavaScript environment just, I don't know that anything really compares at this point in terms of momentum and how seamless and easy it is for people to get started in all sorts of fields.
Yeah. And I'm sure, as you know, as language nerds, or as language nerd extraordinaire that you are, Gabe, I'm sure that you have mixed feelings on this, on the dominance of JavaScript. But okay, let's do a countdown. We'll do a 10-second countdown to finish all the voting. So I will do the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. All right. Oh, actually, that wasn't a video countdown, so it's fine to count it out. All right.
This is not a podcast,
all right,
so you're okay.
Let's get the winners. So reaching out to Val. Val, do we have winners for the Developer's Choice Award? I see in Slack, Val is typing.
Do you want me to hand you an envelope?
Yes. Okay. All right.
Just
We have
symbolic.
winners. All right. The runner-up is Scavenge R.
AR.
Scavenge AR.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's pirate version. Yeah, very nice.
All right.
AR. And the winner of the Developer's Choice Award, Mafia.
Yeah.
Wow. What happens when you put video in your project? People
Yeah,
love video.
I'm so glad the recency bias doesn't like hurt these projects.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And now let us go to the winner of the Facebook Live Award. So also reaching out to Val. Val, I believe you've been tallying up the votes on Facebook. Do we have a winner? All right. And for the Facebook Live Award, our winner is...
Remember, this comes with some priceless gift certificates.
Yes, the winner of the Facebook Live Award is Codewars. Very nice.
All right.
Is that 2 Grace Hopper wins? Are those both Grace Hopper projects? Wow. Congratulations to the Grace Hopper program. 2 wins, both on the Developer's Choice and on Facebook Live. Very, very impressive. All right, another round of applause for everyone. Congratulations. All right, that wraps up another Fullstack Grace Hopper Fullstack Chicago demo day. Thank you so much for all the presenters, for Nimit, and also want to cut over to the control room. Mark, so that is.
Do we have a feed?
Yes,
All right.
we do. That is where the magic is happening behind the scenes. All right, thank you so much, Mark, in the production room.
Thanks to Chris.
Yes. And Chris for running. So, as always, if you're interested in becoming a developer and building cool stuff like the stuff you saw today, exploring the future of JavaScript where even we cannot see the future, it's crazy what's happening, then always feel free to check us out at fullstackacademy.com or gracehopper.com. And otherwise, we will see you again in May for the next Fullstack Demo Day. All right.
Take care.
Check out.
Peace out. Start your journey. fullstackacademy.com.